3 weeks ago and is being pushed through Parliament this week. MPs have already made submissions and this continues tomorrow. Says the bill is not perfect, but in intensification, it is a breakthrough.
It's absolutely a big deal and is an absolutely vital and necessary. 3 decades that they have to go up, and no one's been willing to jump on that third rail of local and national body politics. It's a very important first step.
But he says it is looking rushed, and that's making some councils nervous. Obviously, meet the government last night. One of them is Barry Weber of the Environment Conservation Organisation.
You would think that there's some people would have thought about it rather than this sort of ad hocery. It's more sort of ad hoc planning and ad hoc for a very short process. And it's announced out of the blue. It's a really strange process.
He says the bill fails to address biodiversity and climate change and collides with what councils are doing anyway. Craig Walker runs a company in West Auckland that he says moving old houses to make way for new might look like a boon for him, but there's too few sections to move them to. He hopes the lawmakers will be practical, and he's worried about access to new developments.
It's forcing people to park cars on both sides of the road. There are streets. So I'm not sure how rubbish trucks, how furniture trucks, how fire trucks get down some of these streets.
This point it's still missing urgent extra government funding for roads and services to cope with the extra help. Chris Gladell is another having a say on the bill. He says its intent is good as long as it ensures some of the new homes are made more affordable. By putting several properties on one section, that increases the value of the land, and he wants that extra value to be shared around.
Government, by making this change, has allowed that land value to increase, and that's going to the owner, and we think that it's appropriate that government is able to retain a bit of that value to meet real community needs.
An industry group, the Urban Design Forum, meanwhile suggests the bill could allow for 21 apartments on a quarter-acre section at up to 4 stories high, and that there's no consideration in the bill to quality urban design.
It's 24 minutes past 8. You're listening to RNZ National and Morning Report with Susie Ferguson and Corin Dan. Well, after 6 weeks in lockdown, Hamilton and the western parts of Waikato also open for business. They slipped into level 2 at midnight last night. Our reporter Leah Tibbett is in Hamilton East. Kia ora.
Kia ora, Susie. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, but how are you doing? And what is the situation out there on the streets?
Well, it's a bit of a wet start to level 2 in Kirikiriroa, but it's not holding Hamiltonians back. The roads are noticeably busier than they were yesterday, with parents doing the school drop-off and workers returning back to the office. And I know cafes will be very happy about that because, especially those inner-city businesses, they've been wanting that foot traffic back and their regular customers in the store again.
And you've been able to talk to a couple of people?
Yeah, so one of the businesses, the cafes on Grey Street here, he wasn't sure which way it was going to go, but he hasn't been able to really stop and think this morning. So I think that's pretty indicative of what's going on. He said the traffic outside the shop has been non-stop, but he's also down in a second.
What are some of the shops, the retailers, the services that people are in particular wanting to access and queuing up for?
Well, I think the busiest people today will be those in personal care. There's at least a 2-hour wait for the barbershop across the road from me now, and the people I talked to there were more than happy for the wait, considering they'd already been waiting 6 weeks for their regular chop.
Thank you very much. Yeah, haircuts, I think that's close to many people's hearts. That is Leah Tibbett there in Hamilton East, our reporter, at 26 minutes past 8.
Feedback coming in on the issue of radio this morning. Let's have a look at some people reminiscing on the old news theme. At least sounds original. This one saying that the current one hasn't quite got an original to it. Others, radio has been a constant companion for me, especially when I've lived in remote areas. The best
Congratulations to 100 years on the radio.
This one is in saying, that's what's missing from the current morning report theme. There's not enough brass section. That's what Craig says. More horns, please, he says.
Yes, this one said, misheard it as 100 years of morning report. I thought, bugger, I can remember starting. Strangely, I just accepted that and moved on. That's how old I feel these days. Yes, I know how you feel.
This person texted and saying, and Crosby and RNZ were my radio heroes in the 60s and 70s. I moved from Christchurch to a tiny King Country village in the mid-60s, and RNZ kept me sane.
Yes, another says, love listening to Sharon Crosby on 9 to Noon. Did many a painting job too, with Sports Roundup on in the background.
Leona's been in touch with even if I don't like the current item, I also learn stuff and follow the links.
Becoming available later today. This listener writes, I've been vaccinated but not able to register for certificate because don't have ID. I feel this is a form of discrimination as there must be a lot of other people in my situation.
Yeah, other people texting and saying, why can't people use their Kiwi Access card as ID for vaccination certificates? Specifically, many disabled people use this form as photo ID as they don't have a driver's licence. The Ministry of Health has told us not to worry. There'll be an 0800 number to call. I wonder how this will work for disabled people who are non-verbal.
Right, it is coming. Yeah, with Nicholas.
Kia ora. With 90 minutes of trading left on Wall Street, the main indices continue to climb as investors bet big on consumer retail stocks in the run-up to the holiday season. It's pushed the Dow Jones up more than 0.5% higher. The broader S&P 500 is up 2/3%. And the tech-heavy Nasdaq is up more than 0.75%. Our own local top 50 index starts today on 12,103. That's after yesterday's 62.4. The New Zealand dollar is trading at 69.9 US cents, 95.7 Australian, 0.1 British pence, 0.618 euro, 80.2 Japanese yen, and 4.4. Crude oil has eased a touch to be up 50 cents to $82.52 a barrel, and gold is down $11 to $1,850 an ounce. And that's it from me for now. The business team will be back for an update on the latest news and numbers at around 12 in Midday Report.
Ngā mihi, thanks very much. Ko ngā kōrero whakahirihira mō tēnei ata. Still to come before 9 o'clock here on Morning Report. We'll speak to Nano Girl, Michelle Dig. Also, a missile endangers the International Space Station, and a Goldie painting, which had never been seen publicly, sells for more than $1 million. Kia tae te wā mō te kawe pūrongo. Now at 8:30, the news headlines are Nicola Wright.
Demand is already high on the Ministry of Health's website with the news that COVID-19 vaccine certificates will be made available later today. People have to register to generate the My Vaccine Pass certificate. And at times the site has been showing the too many users message. The COVID-19 response minister, Chris Hipkins, is confident the system to issue the certificates will handle the demand. But he told Morning Report it would be good if the load could be spread over a few days. Retail NZ says while many businesses will now likely mandate vaccination for their staff, there are still too many grey areas to be resolved. The organisation's chief executive, Greg Harford, says businesses that require vaccine passports from customers will likely also mandate the vaccine for staff. But he's have needed to navigate employment law and consult with staff on vaccine mandates. Some Auckland schools are expecting a low turnout as students are welcomed back to class for the first time in 3 months. Finlayson Park School Principal Shirley Mahi expects about 35% of students will return this week. She says her school in Manurewa is open to all students all week. Ms Mahi believes it's the best option for her school community, considering the low attendance she expects. And a children's charity is warning that families school breakfast and lunch programs likely to provide some relief. Kids Can Chief Executive Julie Chapman. When the latest restrictions were introduced, she says some families are struggling to live. Provide parcels to families. That's the news.
RNZ Pacific. Find us online at rnzi.com.